Hi, I'm Zenia, author of these books, and I'm here today to share tools and tips to find the perfect cover for your story. While the old adage might be, don't judge a book by its cover, I think we all know that's exactly what readers are doing. Your book's cover is its first impression, and you really need to make it count. There are two subcategories in this video, one for if you have money to spend on cover creation, and one for if you're looking for very cheap or DIY options. Here's the timestamp for when we'll be talking about the cheaper and budget options. No matter which camp you fall into, the first thing you have to do is decide if you want your book to be available in print or only in ebook. Ebook is generally less complicated and cheaper, but every author usually dreams of being able to hold their work in print. If that sounds like you and you want a print copy, you will have to make sure your cover design includes a back cover and a spine, and you'll also have to find a good template to represent how thick your book's going to be and what size your book's going to be, so that all the measurements line up and your book actually ends up looking the way you want it to. If you already have your book formatted for print, you should already have an idea of what size your book's going to be and how many pages are going to be in it. Kindle Direct Publishing, or KDP, has a really great tool for giving you a template exactly specifying how thick your spine's going to need to be to accommodate the cover size and number of pages that you have. When you're figuring out your final page count, don't forget to include things like your About the Author page, your front matter, acknowledgements, maps, all that good stuff. KDP's tool is free to use, and I'll pop a link to it in the description. If you have money to spend, getting a good book cover usually isn't that challenging. You can trawl social media to find artists who align with your genre, whose style you like, and reach out to see if they're open to commissions. If they are, then you can negotiate a rate and tell them about your story so they can design the perfect cover. You can also use services like Reedsy, Miblart, Getcovers, or 99 Designs, which is what I used for Tethered. Some people really like to use Fiverr, and if you can find a good cover designer on there, brilliant. I'm happy for you. My personal experience with Fiverr was awful. It's great I've got an editor and a map maker on there who I love. Have yet to find a good cover designer through there. I actually use a local artist. For the Last Eclipse series, I happened to be introduced to a digital artist at the time who had a tarot card-esque style that I really liked, and we were able to strike a deal, and he's doing my covers for me for this series. And that is, of course, the wonderful and talented Connor McCleary. You can find his work at this site. The moral of the story is to be sure you check your social connections to see if there's anyone you could work with in person or one-on-one that you already know who could do your cover. And getting an artist who is also a friend can have the added benefit that they might be willing to actually read the story and make the most connected and comprehensive cover possible, rather than just working off your summary or elevator pitch. A couple of tips for working with commissioned artists or cover design services. Always check their portfolio. You need to make sure that their style and the quality of their work matches what you're looking for. You don't want to pay a deposit just to find out it's not a good fit. Secondly, you need to purchase the commercial rights to the cover design. This can bump up the cost quite a bit, so be prepared, but it is necessary if you're intending to sell your book with that image. You also want to check your commercial license carefully to see if it covers just using it as a book cover or if you can put it on merch and things as well. My last tip is no matter what service you use, give the artist as much direction as you can. Don't trust that they're familiar with your genre or will intuit your vision. They're not mind readers. If you want specific colors, imagery, or tone, tell them. Even better if you can gather a little gallery of covers in your genre that you really like so that they have something to reference to look for common through lines. Whether you're working with someone online or designing your own cover, be very careful around AI. Personally, I love AI for certain tasks, but it's still very controversial. And with some distributors, you have to declare when you've used it. In my opinion, it's always good to avoid using AI to replace an artist, writer, or editor, because personally, I'd like to keep our creators in business. Besides, the last thing you want is to put all this time and energy and effort into a book just to get canceled for using an AI cover. Moving on to DIY tools, the best option I've found is Canva. You can do a lot of things for free, though I highly recommend the Pro plan, even if you cancel it after you've finished your cover. Though, honestly, Canva's great for social media as well, so depending on your publication strategy, it might be good to keep. If you don't want to use Pro, you can also import other assets and use stock photography from other websites. Canva is really beginner friendly, and it's probably one of the quickest and easiest design tools to learn to use. They also have a relatively large library of cover templates, which is really great, so you don't have to start totally from scratch. In my next video, I'll do a demo in Canva of some ways to quickly design a book cover and a slightly more in-depth look at how to design one that has your front cover, your spine, and your back cover all in one document. I use Canva to make really basic covers for my novellas and short stories, but it's capable of so much more than that. If you have graphic design experience or are very eager to learn a more complex tool, there are free options like GIMP for image manipulation, or relatively cost-effective options like Affinity Design Suite, which is reasonably similar to Photoshop, for a slightly more advanced step. Unless you're experienced or really dedicated though, I do recommend sticking with Canva. You'll likely just get a more polished result. I found searching for a cover artist to be one of the more stressful parts of putting my books together. I ran into so many people who were using AI without advertising it, so be sure to keep an eye out for that. If you want to make sure you don't miss my Canva walkthrough next week, do subscribe, and I hope to see you then. Thank you for watching, and until next time, happy writing.